These cats are gonna be around me this whole time because they cling to me like no other. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Court. Today we will be discussing all of the 11 books I read in February. Before we get to the books that I read in February, which I have 5 physical books with me here, I want to go over my February stats, the goals, where I'm at for the year. Let's just discuss. So, out of the 7 books on my February TBR, I read 4 of them, which is better than last month because I only read 3. However, we need to just keep going up because I want to finish a monthly TBR sometime. However, this is the shortest month, so I fear that if there was a few more days, I could have gotten 5, So maybe March will be our month. We'll see. I read 11 total books in the month of February, with 1 being a DNF, but I'm still counting it because I read about 74%. This is my channel. I make the rules. Out of those 11 books, I read 4,293 pages, and I had an average rating this month of a 3.85. Remember how I said we should keep our average rating above a 4-star last month? We were doing good in January, and we should keep that ball rolling, and we should just have a good month and then a good year and then just keep it going. Yeah, I fear that high only lasted in January because this month was not good. 3.8 is still good, but it's not above a 4-star. So again, maybe March will be our month. Out of the 11 books I read, format wise, I read 1 on my Kindle, I read 4 physical books, and I read 6 audiobooks. For genre breakdown, I read 8 romances, 2 literary fiction, and 1 horror book. Now, jumping into the goals that I set for the year and checking in on those and seeing where I'm at. I am up to now 22 books for the year. My reading goal is 100, but again, that is a loose goal, and I'm not reading for quantity this year, I'm reading for quality. So I could read 5 books this entire year, which I've already passed that, but stick with me, and they could all be 5 stars, and that would be better than me reading 100 books and them only being 2 stars. So that's what I want. I want quality over quantity. So I'm slowing down my reading still. Last year at this time, 30 some books in February last year. No, we're slowing down. We're looking for the quality. Okay, I did complete 5 physical books on my TBR this month, so that is now 10 total, 5 from January and 5 from February off of my physical TBR, and I set a solid goal of 30% that I wanted to read from my beginning of the year physical TBR that I wanted to read by the end of the year, and that was, when we calculated percentages, 89 books. So I'm up to 10 by the end of February. So we're slowly trekking along. I should read a little bit more off my physical TBR probably, but I'm okay at 10 right now. Off of my 25 for 2025, I did read 2 books off of that list this month, so I am proud of that for getting 2 of those checked off. And I did complete my 12 rec from 12 friends book that I pulled out of my box in my February TBR. I pull out 1 rec from a friend every month because I'm doing 12 in my TBR videos if you want to go check those out. And this month and in January, I read both of the recommendations, so we're going to keep the ball rolling with that as well. So now we're going to get into the actual books and what you guys came here for. I'm going to start with the 5 physical books that I have, and then I'll move into the ones that I either read on audio, my Kindle, just ones that I don't have physical copies of. I'll try to tell you a little bit of what they're about and what I rated them, the normal wrap-up gist. So let's just dive right in. The first book I read in February was none other than Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This was a highly anticipated read for me this year. I got the ARC and it came out February 4th, I believe. However, this was one of my most anticipated reads. It was also on my 25 for 2025 and it was a hit. I rated this book 5 stars. I absolutely ate this book up, just like Unsteady. It is so cute. It follows Matt Frederick and Roe. Does it say her last name? Sheriff. These 2 are polar opposites, but find love in an unlikely place. Roe is Matt's tutor, and he is on the hockey team at the college that they attend. So it is a tutor romance, it's a hockey romance, it's got a little bit of everything. There are some deeper themes thrown into this book, and Ro is competing for this spot in a master's program, I believe, and everybody just kind of overlooks her, and she is doing her best to be her best but never lets loose. And then Matt Frederick comes in the picture and she lets loose. So another 5-star read from Miss Peyton Corinne. I cannot wait to read more in this series and anything else she writes. I highly recommend reading Unsteady and then this. They are interconnected, so you can just read this if you want to. I do recommend reading Unsteady first because you do see the found family growing between the hockey team and all of the players, and I believe Rose's roommate is the girl in the first book, the female character in the first book. So everything just kind of intertwines. So I definitely recommend reading both. Both are fantastic words, and both were 5 stars for me. The next physical book I read was Collide by Balcabra. I was still chasing that hockey romance high that I had from Unloved, and a lot of people said that if you liked Peyton's series that you would like this series. And I believe Spiral came out either in February or in January, which is the second one in this interconnected series as well. So I went ahead and read Collide. Collide is Balcabra's debut, and I absolutely loved it. I gave this one 4 stars. I believe I tandem read this with the audio because I was listening to this at work. I could not put it down. It was addicting. Aiden is this like jockey, like captain, hockey player, and Summer is this good girl, headstrong, always doing the right thing kind of girl. And she is doing a thesis project on hockey and gets paired up with Aiden to do this thesis project. So it's not technically a Tudor romance, but it's very similar, and they work together on this project, and there's so many cute little things thrown in there, and I just really enjoyed this one. I did read it in this video if you want to go see my full thoughts on it, but I really need to continue this interconnected series because I think the found family is really going to hit in this one as well. There's something about a sports romance found family that just does it for me every single time. Just give me a hockey interconnected series and I'm sat, you know? My next physical book I read was Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. I gave this one a 3.5. I also tandem read I think I just did the audio for this one, now that I think about it. The audio was phenomenal. It has some very good voice actors, and I think that's why I ended up picking the audio up for this one. This follows our main character, Charlotte. She meets this guy named Kellen in a very unlikely circumstance, and then they agree to meet every February 14th. However, something tragic happens to Kellen, and years later, Charlotte runs into his older brother, Tate, and it just kind of goes on from there. I don't want to spoil the whole book, but they become like unlikely acquaintances, and they are very far apart in age, and they're just drawn together by this traumatic event that happened to his brother and one of her friends, that they just become closer and closer to try to figure out what happened. Not even just that, but like figure out why and be there for each other because they haven't really had anybody but themselves, and there's so much trauma. There's a lot of triggers. Please search up trigger warnings. I really did enjoy the audio. I don't know if I would have liked it as much if I read it rather than listened to it. It was just a good time, perfect for Valentine's Day because it is set on Valentine's Day, and I'm glad I did read this. The beginning, the little blurb right here says, "My first love ended in tragedy, the second began with his brother." So that gives you any indication on what happens the rest of the book. There it is. My next physical read was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This was my favorite read of the month of February. I read this in physical format alone. This is 5 stars. They weren't kidding when they said this series was so good I need to read the second and the third one. This is so good. This follows the town of Beartown, and they rely heavily on their hockey team to win this. I don't know if it's a national championship or what, but it's like their junior championship for hockey. And everything good, it relies on this championship and the team. And if you're a hockey player, you get away with whatever you want. And that's just how it works in this town. They are in the middle of a forest. I believe it's set in a Sweden town, if I am remembering correctly. However, it is just a town and you get point of views of everyone in the town and what they think of hockey, and different people on the team and different people who support the team, don't support the team, etc. And it's just such a beautiful story. This was my first Frederick Bachman book ever, and I am not disappointed. I cannot wait to read more by Frederick Bachman, and I cannot wait to finish this series. Finally, my last physical book was Hunting Adeline. I read Hunting Adeline last springtime sometime. Can't even remember which month. However, I didn't love Haunting Adeline, so I put this off for a very, very long time. However, a few of my friends wanted to read Phantom together, so I decided to knock this one out so I could read that with them, and I ended up really liking it. I gave this 4 stars. There were some things that I, would have changed if I had written it. However, for a dark romance and for what I wanted it to be, I really did enjoy it. I liked it a lot better than Haunting. I tabbed so much. There are some really great quotes in here. I really liked Addie's character growth in this book, and I think that's what solidified me for liking this book, because most of my issues with Haunting Adeline were Addie. So, because she got a lot of character growth and because we got to see Sibby is my favorite character, this book got 4 stars, and I really want to read Where's Molly, and I really want to read Phantom, and I can't wait to read Sibby's books too. So 4 stars. If you don't know what this is about, look it up on the internet, because I don't really know how to explain this without spoiling the whole thing now. It's just a guy who stalks this girl. That's really all I can tell you. Read at your own, caution. Okay, thanks. Those were all of the physical books that I had for the month of February, so we're going to move into the ones that I either read via audio or on my Kindle that I don't have physical copies of. I started out with The Curious Kitten at the... Let me say this right. I don't want to mess it up. The Curious Kitten at the Chibaneko Kitchen. I believe I am saying that right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is a translated text, and I believe it's translated from Japanese, and it was just a short, cute little audio that I listened to while I was working one day. I really enjoyed this. I gave this one 4 stars as well. This is a literary fiction novel that is translated from Japanese. It is also magical realism. It is about this kitchen who cooks meals called remembrance meals, and when the food is cooked and served and the steam is wafting off of that meal, the person that you're remembering or trying to remember comes and has a chat with you. So you're able to talk to that person while the food is still hot. When the food cools, that is when they leave and you can no longer talk to them. You can only do it once. You only get one shot at talking to them. That is how it works. I really did enjoy this little audio. It's very, very short, and I believe you follow 3 different people who go to the Chibaneko kitchen and meet their loved ones or those who have passed on. It was just such a heartwarming, different kind of story, and I am a sucker for magical realism. I absolutely love this one. If you're looking for just a little short, cute story, I highly recommend this one. Then I read my book club's book, Scythe and Sparrow. I did listen to this one as well because I listened to the first 2 in this series. The audios for the series never miss. I absolutely eat up the audios for this series, so I needed to finish strong and finish the audio for this one as well. I gave this one a 4.5 stars. However, this was my least favorite in the series. Being a 4.5 and being the least favorite in the series, you know the series is good. I just didn't connect to the characters as much as I did in the other 2, and Butcher and Blackbird is just nostalgic. There is a reading vlog coming with all of my thoughts on Scythe and Sparrow, and I just absolutely ate this one up. I love Brynne Weaver's writing. I love Brynne Weaver as a person, and I cannot wait to see what she comes out with next. And we got a little bit of a hint at what's coming next in Scythe and Sparrow, and I cannot wait. Then I listened to Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This is a little Spotify novella that follows 2 video game designers, and I gave this 2.5 stars. Everything new that Ali Hazelwood has been writing hasn't been for me. Bride, no. Not in Love, no. Now this, I don't know if Deep End is going to be for me. I have it sitting literally right here. But I don't know if it's going to be for me either. I just find the overuse of spice something that isn't for me personally, so that was my issue with it. I also thought it was very short. I felt like I blinked and it was over, and I didn't remember. So To Can Play was just simply not for me. Next, I listened to First Time Caller by BK Borison. I really did enjoy this audiobook. The audio had some sounds because it is about a radio show, and it's called Heartstrings Radio Show. They basically are trying to find love for our female main character because her daughter calls in one day, and the radio show host Aiden is basically invites her on the radio and sets her up on dates, and things happen. However, Aiden starts falling for our female main character as well because she's just charming. BK Borison really does know how to write a love story. I really did enjoy the audio version of this because of the little radio sounds and because of all of the little cute messages, and just it was about, even though you're an adult and your life has passed you by, you can still find love and make the most of your life, even if you feel that way, because you can be 80 and still do something new. And I really did enjoy that message in this book. I do highly recommend the audio version of it. It is so good. Then I started listening to Something in the Walls by Daisy Pierce. I got an advanced listening copy for this from NetGalley, and I can't even tell you what this book is about. This is my DNF of the month. This was supposed to be a horror book, and I can't even tell you what I was supposed to be scared about. I was not scared. I was left confused. I made it 74% through the book, and I believe it was about some little girl, and I believe a nanny, and apparently something in the wall. I believe maybe if I eyeball read this, it would be better. But I did DNF the audio, and I don't know if I have plans to pick it up. I was just left very, very confused, and I didn't like the pacing of the book. I can't tell if it was just the narrator reading it or the writing pacing of the book. However, I just was waiting for something to happen, waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing even remotely scary or remotely had me on the edge of my seat. I was just like, huh, the entire time listening to this. So I decided to DNF it and not waste my time. Finally, the last book I did read on my Kindle, I read Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. This is my 12 recs from 12 friends, and I am so sorry to my friend who recommended this to me, but this book simply was not for me. I gave this book 1.5 stars. It is a cute romance, and I can see how people do enjoy this book. However, there is a lot of spice, and it is a little bit insta-lusty for me personally. There is a subplot of romantic suspense, and I believe that subplot of romantic suspense is not done well. I think that it was done really well in the beginning. It had me very excited to read this book, and then the romance kind of happens and takes over the entire book, and the romance suspense plot is kind of set in the back burner, and then to kind of wrap that up at the end of the book, it's kind of odd and unrealistic how all of that wraps up, and I just didn't enjoy that part of it, and that's the only real thing that I was kind of rooting for in this book, because I found no chemistry between our two main characters and outside of the lustiness of them. So I just didn't really enjoy this one, and I don't think I will be continuing this series, unfortunately. I can see how others would like this, but if you do read this, go in knowing that the romantic suspense is on the back burner, and it is not a romantic suspense book. It is a romance book with a little bit of suspense. And those are all 11 books that I read in the month of February. If you read any of these, let me know your thoughts below. Also, let me know your favorite book of February so I can check that out as well. If you want to see me anywhere else on the internet, all of my socials are in the description as well. Thank you so much for being here. Like, subscribe, the whole YouTube gist, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bye!